Wanted to hump on, get a presentation with mentally preparing for elite performance. So based around goal setting, and I'm going to touch on imagery and positive self-talk as well. What we want to do is incorporate imagery and self-talk to set realistic and aggressively ambitious goals. So moving into imagery off the bat, guys, imagery is creating or recreating images in one's mind. It's an experience that mimics real experience. We can be aware of seeing an image, feeling the movements as an image, experience an image of smell, of taste, of sound, without actually experiencing the real thing. It differs from dreams in that we're awake and conscious when we form an image. Imagery includes all those senses, guys. So bringing in the visual, what are we seeing? The auditory, how does it sound? The olfactory, man. So what does it smell like? What does that moment smell like? If you can, the touch, what does it feel like? What's the body movement feeling like there with the kinesthetic movement? We want to include all of those things to build as realistic of a picture as we can mentally when we use our imagery. So incorporating all those senses and really creating as detailed of a picture as we possibly can. So the functions of imagery are going to be both cognitive and motivational. So they're going to be used for things like building your skills and technique, working on your strategies and routines. So it can be the imagery of making a specific jump cut and just going through that process over and over again, all the way to imagining yourself pre-game getting pumped up and kind of that general arousal, and you're trying to regulate your emotional state in big time settings. So practicing that, and you can get into that more. I'll send this slideshow over for you guys. So imagery is multi-dimensional, guys. It's a cognitive and motivational functions, as we saw in the last slide. It's a skill that can be improved with practice like anything else. It's not going to be great at it right off the bat. You got to practice it, hone it in, find your strength with imagery. And effective imagery is you match the function to the desired outcome. So you're seeing the result, the result that you want to bring to fruition. You're seeing that in your mind over and over again before it actually happens, manifesting that reality. And effective images are also tailored to your individual needs. So it's not going to be the same for any two guys. Moving into self-talk here, fellas. So self-talk's any statement or thought about and addressed to yourself. So for me, it's kind of that constant narrative voice in the back of your head. It's a little bit of a deck, always trying to kind of bring you down and hack at you mentally. But that's your self-talk, man. That constant stream coming through. It's multidimensional and dynamic as well, and it facilitates the focus on the present and keeps the mind from wandering. So kind of breaking it down and bringing a little bit of self-awareness to self-talk and that mental thought stream. You want to separate into is it a positive thought, a negative thought, and an irrelevant thought. So having that level of awareness and even realizing, that you are not your thoughts, and having a little bit of a mindfulness gap to step away from that and identify, okay, that's a negative thought. I don't need to spend any more time on that. Can get rid of it. And that's a really great way you can stay oriented towards your goals and stay oriented in the moment. Functions of self-talk, again, it's going to be both cognitive and motivational functions. So you have the specific things like skills where you're going through and you're just reminding yourself to potentially keep your knees up as you go through a drill, something like that, all the way to motivational where you're psyching yourself up, man. You're walking around the sideline going, I'm the best, getting ready for a big game. So again, you can dig into more on that slide. But that's the functions there. So tips for effective self-talk, it's going to be positively worded most of the time. Want to keep it there, so I can do this rather than don't do this or avoid doing this. Keep it positively worded. It's overt, self-selected, so it's very clear what you're doing, and it's chosen by yourself. Simple phrases or words, man. The easiest one I think of is Nike's "Just Do It." That kind of little mantra that means a lot to you, that you can come back to in those tough times where you don't really have time to go through the whole thing, but you just need kind of that 3-word, that quick little mantra to push on. Facilitative and meaningful. So something like that, no regrets. It has that personal emotion attached to it. It's valuable to you. It's something that's important to you. You know it's going to be there for you when you need it to be. It's used frequently in practicing competitions, so something you can really come back to is that positive self-talk. Just always, constantly being your biggest supporter, being there for yourself, and really advocating for yourself and being your own biggest supporter. Don't think that's something that gets talked about enough, and is definitely adamant and something you see in elite performers at the very top end. And it's controlled using thought stopping as well. So again, getting back to identifying negative thoughts, irrelevant thoughts when they come in, being able to get those right out of there and focus what matters. So those are just some effective self-talk tips, guys. And now all this comes together into goal setting. And what we're looking to do with this is set effective goals. So goal setting is the practice of establishing desirable objectives for one's actions. And when I think of goal setting, I always think of Conor McGregor. If you know a little bit about his background, his story was living on next to nothing, kind of gave it all up to chase this dream of being a professional fighter, and obviously the first ever double champ in the UFC. So I visualized my imagination so clearly and so consistently that has manifested itself into my reality. All right, so it's the most commonly used performance enhancement strategy in sport, and for those at the very top end, the elite of the elite. It's obviously something that's incredibly prevalent in their approach to sport. what is a goal and why we have this highlighted at the bottom here is the kind of what a goal does. So the biggest things a goal is going to do is going to focus attention on a task, provide motivation to increase the effort and intensity toward achieving that goal, encourage your persistence when time gets tough because you now have that orientation, you know what you're working towards, and it promotes the development of strategies to help overcome barriers and setbacks. When you have a clear-cut goal, when things get difficult, now you need to navigate through, find out how to work your way through that environment and continue moving towards your goal. And you may have to create some new strategies, find some new methods in order to do that. So those are the big functions of a goal. Individual goals are what an individual is trying to accomplish, the object or aim of an action. Straight up, it would just be completely related to your person, yourself. And a group goal is a shared perception that refers to a desirable state for the group as a unit rather than the sum of the personal goals. So it's not just everybody's individual goals all kind of stacked on top of each other's. Group goals are separate where they're really collaborative efforts. It's not, everybody does their piece through their individual goals, but when we think about setting up group goals, we're really thinking about how, as a group, can we share this movement towards a goal. So a slight difference there. Goals can be either technical, so it can be about a skill or technique you're trying to develop, a tactical one, so a strategy or a game plan that you're trying to implement. Maybe it's your strategy before you go to bed to get a little bit of extra work in, something like that. It's a physical, so trying to improve your speed and strength, just straight up trying to drop a little bit of time off the 40 can be a physical goal. And psychological goals, so things that even directly relate to confidence, focus, and imagery. So an environmental goal, maybe even setting out time where you have a goal of practicing imagery about achieving your goals, so getting really deep into it and really ingraining that goal setting process to make sure you're very clear on what we're heading towards here. So the types of goals we have here, you have process goals, which focus on specific behaviors to facilitate successful performance. So proper mechanics during this drill, for example. I really want to focus on what I can control, focus on the process. That'd be a process goal. A performance goal would focus on the standard performance. So I want to complete the regular season with 0 drop passes. Again, paying attention to how we word that there. We want to positively word it, not negative. So rather than saying don't drop any passes, saying complete the season with 0 drop passes. And it's really subtle, but that positive worded message makes a big difference psychologically over time and getting into the subconscious. And outcome goals focus on the end product of the performance. So these are the hardest to quantify as they're often determined by the result. So lead the team in receptions at the end of the season. So process performance goals a little bit easier to quantify, a bit more tangible. The outcome goals really would kind of be a next step if you're at the elite of the elite at the really top end, and that's something that'd be realistic for you. Would be kind of leading the team or leading the conference, the country, statistically wherever you think you are at. Goal setting roadblocks, a couple things that may come up as you go through here. Setting too many goals, getting overwhelmed, failure to recognize individual differences, so just kind of a blanket statement this, not bringing that unique individuality to the goal setting, underestimating the implementation time, so understanding that it is going to take time to drive behavior change, and it's going to take kind of those consistent tough choices in order to establish those new patterns, and failure to provide follow-up and evaluation. So that's something we're going to help you guys out with and include with your positional group, and we'll get into the kind of goal tracking piece here shortly. But yeah, failure to provide follow-up and evaluation, a key piece, man. Have to be able to reflect and be adaptable in order to stay on track with your goals. So the elite mental performance process, guys, we'll get into the last piece here. And this is kind of everything we've been working towards and why we've talked about what I have here so far. So what we want to do is we want to set ambitious SMART Plus goals, which we'll get into on the next slide. And this should be directly relevant to the advancement of your football and academic life. Number 2, in that process, we're going to develop simple implementation intentions that will directly drive positive behavior change. So that's coming up in the next slide, in the next couple slides as well there. We want to create goal insurance and creativity throughout our lives. We want to use detailed imagery deliberately to see ourselves accomplishing our goals. We want to use positive self-talk to eliminate doubt and consistently orient ourselves toward our goals. And then finally, we want to regularly track our goals with our positional group and adjust when necessary. So we've kind of covered 4 and 5 there on the imagery, positive self-talk. We're going to go through the rest of that process here quickly now. When we talk about SMART Plus goal construction, what we want to have them is self-selected. So it's chosen by you, but it's expertly informed. So it makes sense. There's a high level of thought that goes into why the goal's been selected by you. It's public, so it's both visible to you, it's up in your bedroom, and it's shared with others. We have that. We'll have that group with your positional group. That document where you can share your goals with them and keep up track with it. But you talk to your parents about it too. You talk to your friends and family, and you have it up in your room. It's visible to you. It's something that you're very outwardly pursuing. People can see that these are the goals you're pursuing. There's a relative challenge. There's going to be a reward when you accomplish it. It's going to be worth it when you get over that hump. It's specific, so there's a clear target outcome, and again, it's worded positively. It's measurable, so it's using stats, distances, or rating scales. I can't just say eat better because there's no way that I can quantify that goal. So I have to have a quantifiable goal that's also aggressively ambitious, yet still realistic. And it's adjustable. So again, it's flexible. I can readjust based on the progress I'm making, based on setbacks, based on maybe even making more progress than I anticipated I would. Always can stay and adjust. again, it's realistic. So it's going to be difficult to attain, and as realistic as we can be while still being aggressively ambitious, man. We're elite performers here. We want you guys to absolutely go beyond what we think you can do and what you think you can do as well. So creating aggressively ambitious yet realistic goals is a huge piece of this, fellas, and time-based as well. So there's a specific deadline for the goal. You have kind of the 3-week time frame. You maybe have a 3-week, and maybe you have a 3-year goal for some of the younger guys and even some of the older guys transitioning into their lives. And you have a tracking strategy. So maybe 15 minutes a week, you kind of check in every Sunday. And you follow up on your goals, adjust what you need to, and stay consistent with there. So that's kind of the SMART plus goal construction, things you want to consider when you're building your goal. Setting an implementation intention is kind of the key piece. Now we take what we have as a goal and we drive it towards direct outcome and things we can tangibly see as these are the behaviors we're going to change. So identifying a sport goal and then identifying the when, where, and how we're going to reach that goal. So when I am blank, I will do this. Whenever I'm in the library, I'll take the stairs instead of the elevator. I'm sure there's a few girls in your class who could probably really benefit from that goal in 2022. All right, so football example. My example for me was books, man. I got a great big book list, but I haven't read a bunch of books I currently have, so I want to make them through. So I got 34. It's 8,300 pages, a little over. Kind of just did the math up there quick, and this is something that took me 20, 30 minutes to go through, but when you break it down, that's super manageable, man. And now 23 pages of a book per day, and I'll be 34 books deeper by the end of 2022, man. That's exciting for me. That's a good goal, and that's a kind of a good quick way to go from the goal to break it down to the implementation intention and move on. Goal insurance, another thing we want to create here, guys. Frequency, visibility, accountability. So frequency, we want to check progress or reevaluate regularly, update them. We want to monitor our improvement. When we're visible, again, we're talking about posting them wherever we can see them, having those conversations with your friends and family, having them in your bedroom, in your house, serving as a constant reminder, sharing them in that group doc with the positional group. And then accountability piece, telling someone our goals so you're coaching your teammates, and it's that form of personal pressure. So what we want to do is create that goal insurance through frequency, visibility, and accountability. Tracking our goals, so what we'll get into, and this will be a document that gets sent out to you guys next week. We want to set ambitious goals, both personal goals, team goals, and some strength and conditioning goals. We'll have them all up for each member of your positional group to see and share with each other. We'll set implementation intentions right on that doc, kind of right after that, right next to it there to continue through that process. And then we'll track and reflect. So they must be quantifiable, as I said there. Has to be a solid way you can track it. Have to be able to see it somehow. You have to stay up to date on inputting that tracking data, and then a bi-weekly written reflection, where we get a couple lines about how it's going and any adaptations that need to be made. And great way to keep you guys driving each other and unite the positional groups a little bit as well over the off season. So guys, again, just reviewing that elite mental performance process, setting ambitious, SMART goals, developing simple implementation intentions, creating goal insurance, using detailed imagery, using positive self-talk, and regularly tracking your goals. All right, fellas, so hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch here. Excited to attack in 2022 with you guys and having a great year. K-Ya, baby. I'll see you guys later.